gentlemen, welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel. As always, I am joined by Woman Myron.
Back again for your entertainment, people. It's great to be here.
Guess
Where are
back.
places you can find us, Nick?
Back again. Shady's back.
Back.
Tell a friend.
My favorite place to find us is tappedoutpod.com. Also, I would like to congratulate ourselves for being voted the most handsome wrestling podcast crew in the Southeast, according to a poll conducted on tappedoutpod.com. It's always a great website. And we have that wonderful YouTube channel.
That's right.
Tell them all about that.
Yeah, over at youtube.com, just search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast or Tapped Out Podcast Network. Believe it or not, either one will actually find our home. Make sure you're going over there. Make sure you are liking the page, subscribing. Turning on your notifications is the big one. So when you get those extra little things like that surprise, I told you we dropped something on Monday. If you were a member, however, you got it over the weekend, and then that would dropped on Monday. That seemed like it was a fun thing to do, man.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm hoping we can get out there this weekend. It's actually a good weekend for wrestling far away from us in Georgia.
Yeah.
So
I will go ahead and full disclosure. There is no wrestling for me this weekend. We leave to go out of town on the 15th. My whole week is slammed until I leave on the 15th. So I've got nothing. There's no way, how, shape, or form between work appointments and packing and some other stuff that I'll share off air. I forgot to mention before we started recording. But if you check it out and get your tickets, that's the big thing.
Yes.
So
get your tickets, go to these shows, go to Wrestle America. They got a shark cage, for Christ's sake. A shark cage.
Good old Southern shark cage, right? Hanging them up.
I
That's
love a
right.
shark cage.
Yeah. So
put that Ride North guy in a shark cage. Don't let him interfere against Skrilla. God, I love professional wrestling.
Oh, Fried Eddie. Fried Eddie is the man. Yeah, check him out. Wrestle America this weekend, amongst other things. But this past weekend, so I did do a show, which I went to Southern Honor, which we will discuss later in the show. But the biggest show, Crown Jewel, ran over on a Saturday it kicked off at like 11 pre-show. Show started at noon. The great news is it was well over with before the Tennessee-Georgia game started. So I rolled straight from one into the other.
God, that sounds like a fantasy day.
Yeah. And the crazy thing was we rolled right into LSU, Alabama later after that. So it just kept, like, the whole day started. And, like, I was like, once I got done, dude, I was like, okay, I'm done, because I was on a roll all day long. And but Crown, listen, we're going to first of all, let me address this part, because it's in the notes out of order. But for me, like, I get the backlash. I understand the people that have a problem with them being there, for whatever reason. And I'm not saying you're wrong. That's the funny part. Everybody's like, for what I'm about to say, like, I get it. But there's a major reason why they can't say no. And it's $50 million. They're a publicly traded company. And it came out this, and I mean, if you just did the math, you could have figured this out. But essentially, the shows they've done in Saudi at this point, the Crown Jewel, Greatest Rumble, all that stuff that they've done, just the ones they've done, have made them right at that 400 million mark. That almost doubles the gate ticket sales for all 38 WrestleManias combined. Think about that. That's
a lot of manias. That's a lot of the biggest event in professional wrestling. And twice it? They got to go.
So,
but I'll tell you something else, Nick.
What's that?
I will tell you what I noticed most watching that show. I looked out in the crowd, and they had kids right there at the front row. And those kids could have been from Cornelia. Those kids could have been from Birmingham. Those kids could have been anywhere professional wrestling runs in the United States. The language of professional wrestling translates anywhere in the world. Kids love it. Doesn't matter what color, religion, wherever you are in the world, professional wrestling is a universal language. And maybe something good will come of this. Maybe progress will be made. I mean, the women are wrestling on the show. They were fully clothed. They had some really cool outfits on. I I enjoyed just about everything I've seen about the show. I've got all the way to the Logan Paul match. It's been a crazy week. I worked like 60 hours this week. But it did me good to see kids running around and cheering and yelling and just having a good time.
I think
we're all the same, folks.
I think
we're all wrestling
general,
fans
Myron,
on the inside.
I always find, it's always funny when the wife points things out. And it's like, man, this crowd's kind of into this. They're really, and I'm like, oh yeah, they are. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people to grasp, is that the more I see Clash at the Castle, the Crown Jewel shows, and things, I'm like, maybe WWE should just run more overseas.
Their World Wrestling Federation.
Well, it's not that. It's from the perspective of, are we a little too spoiled? That, like, you know what I mean? Like when they go to Canada, when they go to the UK, when they do the Saudi shows, the Crown Jewel shows, they get really good reactions. I'm like, I'm not telling you to go all the time, because I get the travel part's a little difficult. But maybe I would lean a little into that and maybe do a little more. But that's just me.
Not do like NXT UK. Have like a traveling group that would travel around the areas, not run every day.
No, I'm talking about Raw. Like, I'm talking about, like, I would take pay-per-views and Raws and stuff and do international shows. I think that it would do good for the American audience to catch a break. Now, I'm not saying look, I get it'd be a struggle for some of the talents, because, that's a lot of time on the road away from the families. I'm just talking about from the perspective of the crowd reactions they get. I'm not, and you don't want to oversaturate it and do it over the top either, but I'm just saying a little more, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, give it. I mean, they're making insane money doing it, so we'll see.
Well,
so what was your favorite part?
Dude, main event, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, even as much as everybody wants to talk, even the Bray Wyatt thing, to me did not. I mean, like, the main event, Roman versus Logan Paul, hands down. Logan Paul has no business being as good as he is. He just is. Like, literally, I'm saying this, and a lot of people, like, it's not an indictment of anybody else, but he's as good as some guys who have been doing this for a long time.
He's a gifted natural athlete.
It's not just the athletic, which, by the way, he's a freaking hell of an athlete if you've seen the clips. But it's even and the viral video and
charisma.
Yeah. And it's funny, I was having a conversation with somebody about the whole viral video where he took the camera up to the top and did the dive. That doesn't make sense with any other, like, character gimmick person.
No.
But him, it made perfect sense.
He's an internet superstar.
Yeah.
And he did what his audience would expect out of him.
Yeah.
That was a stunt. That was phenomenal. I watched the video of that. I haven't seen the whole match yet. Looking forward to it just based on that video alone.
Yeah.
So
the card itself was pretty good, top to bottom. I didn't think anything really stunk up the building or anything like that. I thought it delivered top to bottom.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and rank the matches in order of which one I like the best. But
I love the finish on Bianca and Bayley.
Very smart.
Never saw that before. I love it when I see a finish I've never seen before. So that was awesome.
Bliss and Asuka was a surprise that they dropped the belts right back. That was kind of surprising. We talked about how stunned and surprised we were when they won them, so I wanted to throw in that. Okay, well, not shocked that the Usos retained, because we knew where we're heading, and I don't want to jump ahead because we're going to discuss that a little bit down the road. But like I said, man, look, they go over there, and it's the government pays for it. It's a bought show, essentially. It's just, like I said, and they have to deliver big things when they go over there. And I can't believe that there's anybody in the that puts on the Saudi show or in Crown Jewel and that stuff that's disappointed in what they got. Just the main event alone. I think they probably were happy with it.
That cage match finish was awesome.
Yep.
I love it. See where one guy just gets over the top or out the door before the other one. They put everything into these shows. And apparently chanting "Holy shit" and "This is awesome" are universal.
Yeah. So that
I love
crosses
hearing
over,
that.
no problem. But yeah, so I get it. Again, I always come back to that. Like people that say like, oh, I'm not condoning and I'm not condemning it. I'm just saying for the show that they put on, I think they did a really good show. I was more than happy with it, to be honest with you. Pleased with how it all went down. So,
if you want to change people's hearts, how are you going to do it without interacting with them? Okay.
Yeah. Now you're getting all philosophical, and I trust me.
I went to therapy before I recorded this, so I'm all deep thinking today.
There you go. Well, listen, we that's what we're going to dive in, and we're going to do a little thinking today. We didn't do any mailbag questions, so we kind of fell behind a little bit. So I wanted to jump back into
question.
Sure.
Where's the question from Durwood?
Derwin Baker?
Yes, that guy.
Where's
he from? Oh, well, Cornette has this Charlie from Starkville guy that sends questions into the drive-thru all the time. And so this Durwood guy's always sending us something. I think we should be able to recognize him.
I agree. He's always doing stuff, yeah.
I have a super fan like that guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to get to our questions. Hank from Denton, Texas wants to know, and this is where this went. Do you think the New Day should end the Usos streak and maintain their record as the longest reigning tag team champs?
So last night on Raw, we saw the confrontation. They came out. They addressed the big match on SmackDown. By the way, that promo will probably be drastically underrated in my opinion. I thought they did a really good job hitting home. Basically the New Day saying the Usos didn't have to work as hard as them because they got everywhere based on their family, their name. The Usos retorting, you don't understand the pressures of what it's like to come from this family and having to deliver. So it's one of those like, yeah, they're kind of both right. So it's kind of unique.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Hank, no, I don't think the Usos should stop them. I'm sorry, the New Day should stop them. I think records are made to be broken on a pretty regular basis. I mean, it doesn't bother me in the least. And I had a twist on it, by the way, because somebody said, well, Jay's hurt. He's got the hurt wrist at his arm. He's probably going to have to get an MRI, might need surgery, whatever. Depending on when you hear this, he might have actually already had it done, and we know the extent of the injury. I had a thought. What if he is injured and he's going to be out 2 to 3 months?
4 to 6 weeks. All the same. Who are they going to put in there, Nick? Who would substitute?
Because everybody thinks immediately like, well, just put in Solo, right? That's who you put in. No. I say you put in the new Uso in. You put Sami Zayn. Because think about it. On SmackDown, when they were having their confrontation, Roman said to him that if Jay didn't get his stuff together, he was going to take that honorary off of Sammy's chest and he was going to make him a full-blown Uso. And I'm like, okay, well, Jay didn't take care of his business and he got hurt. So he's got to go away. So Sammy slides right into that role, and Jimmy and Sammy are your tag champions.
And
then when Jay comes back, now you have the confrontation. Because think about it, then when he comes back, that's when you can pull the trigger on the Sammy bumps out, slides in with Kevin Owens, and then you've got your angle built in already that you've pumped the brakes on, because you get to buy more time while Jay's away getting the wrist healed up.
Oh, and it makes it more and more and more drama, high drama.
Because think about it, if they maintain the titles for that long, Sammy's argument is, your record doesn't hold up if I'm not here. Like, I did your job for you while you were gone.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not Freebird rule.
Exactly. But you would think it would be Solo, but I say go the other route and have Roman.
Oh, yeah. Solo doesn't make the drama. Well, Solo's would be a good, but he's not drama.
I don't like, I say that. So my thing is, no, man, I say run with the Usos while this whole thing's hot and fill in Sammy if you have to. If Jay's hurt, fill in Sammy, man. That's my take on it. So.
Wow. You ought to be a booker somewhere, Nick.
I don't know. So, all right,
Colt
brother, what's
from
that
Spencer, Oklahoma. What are your thoughts on Jeff Jarrett being hired to seemingly start running live events, house shows for AEW? A position he had, I'm just adding this, at WWE, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
3 months ago?
He pointed out something really cool on his podcast. He doesn't know for a fact, but he believes he could be Vince's last hire. Because the whole thing went down right after they brought him in. That's why he was there for a short time. Then he left. He's like, I might be VKM's last hire.
The funniest thing is, Nick, the other big controversy they had, the steroid trial, guess who they brought in?
Jerry Jarrett.
They brought in his dad.
Yeah.
It's like the Jarretts are like a lifeline.
Well, whenever they let him go afterwards, so I don't know about it. He didn't know that was
things worked out.
Well, Road Dogg took his job, but that's a different story. Yeah. So anyway, sorry to answer the question. It's kind of a two-parter for me. First and foremost, my appreciation of Jeff Jarrett, as much as I promote that podcast, which by the way they don't need it, but you know what I mean. As much as I listen to it and love it and talk about how everybody should be listening to it, I think Jeff Jarrett should have a job with some wrestling company at all times. I think he's got a lot to contribute. But
definitely,
here's the but. There's nothing. This what I'm about to say now has absolutely to do with Jeff Jarrett, because he deserves a position. I said deserves back up. I think any company would benefit from him having a position within their company.
Immensely.
As I like to say. Anyway, however, I remember the whole attraction of wrestlers going to work for AEW was that they didn't have to work house shows and they didn't have to do as many live events. And so they could go work the indies and do the other stuff. Now, if you're telling me you're going to pick up live events, listen, I don't have a problem with companies running live events, obviously. But I have a gut feeling. And listen, I'm not saying if a wrestler took this stance that they probably aren't going to be too popular. They might not get re-signed. But here's the hypothetical. If I'm Chris Jericho, you paid me X amount of money to do TVs and pay-per-views. I came here also under the impression there were no live events, so it's not like we could run. Now you're going to start running live events and you're going to try to book me on them? I don't think so. I have Fozzy to take care of. So that's a you problem. Because I was sold the bill of goods that there were no house shows. Now, if you're going to start running them, now, anybody you sign going forward, or if you signed in recently and you knew you were going to, you told them they might, that's a different argument.
Well, I can see that for like Jericho. I can see him not going, but a guy like Danhausen, Orange Cassidy, they might be stuck in a position where they have to.
It's all about the money and the miles. Isn't that what they say? So my argument's simple. If you were going to pay, because this is, and I know this to have happened, you have option A. I can sign with AEW and make $75,000 a year, but I just got to do TVs, whatever, and pay-per-views if they want me, right? Or I can grind it out on the indies, and I might be able to make 80 to 100 maybe. But I got to do all this work. I got to work all the time constantly, blah, blah, blah. I take the gig with the AEW. Now you're telling me if we're going to start doing, now I get it. You're probably going to get me tickets, a plane, but I'm still having to work the thing. I might have just said, well, I took a little bit less guaranteed money to work less dates. But now you're going to start adding stuff to my work schedule. Because I'm under the assumption, and I could totally be wrong. If I'm Chris Jericho, I'm not doing house shows. So that means, guess who is? Danhausen's going to do shows. If he was under the impression, I don't do house shows, I get to go back out on the indies and work and make extra money. But now you're going to, because you will be taking money away from them. Because you're going to take them away from indie dates to put them into house shows, live events, whatever you want to call them. So you see where I'm going? Strictly from a business standpoint.
At least they've got a guy who understands that, though, in charge of this department.
Sure.
At least they've got a guy who recognizes the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast logo when he sees it.
That is true. So, anyway.
So,
but the main part of that question is, hell yeah, Jeff Jarrett working anywhere is a compliment and a addition to the company. So
it's good for you.
Yeah,
it's good for you. Okay, Marshall from New Windsor, Maryland. Never heard of that place. Why do you think Triple H continues to bury Austin Theory on Raw? Okay, you're going to have to give me some more definitions with this, Nick. I've been following this, but I thought he was getting TV time.
My original answer was, is he? Is he burying?
But I've seen him getting buried. Okay, I've seen him getting buried. I've seen him wrestling guys like Riddle,
Rollins,
Seth Rollins.
It's just, it's on and on. Kevin Owens. He won Money in the Bank. Like, I get, okay, that was pre, so okay, I get it. So like, for my thing was but I wanted to go, and this is funny. Like this, by the way, this all stems from Raw last night. We're recording on Tuesday, if you haven't figured it out by now. He cashed in Money in the Bank for the U.S. title, which made no sense in the grand scheme of things. But hey, maybe he thought, I don't stand a chance against Roman.
Strategy.
Yeah, I'll take a belt that I can win. Title I can win. Whatever.
Belts now again.
It's back to belts.
I don't
know. But so he lost. He cashed in unsuccessfully. Yeah. So in context, I want to put it all in perspective. Not too long ago, Austin Theory was being shoved down our throats, and people weren't ready for him, and he didn't earn his spot. He didn't deserve it. Okay, Vince is out. Triple H is in. Austin Theory starts to lose a lot. I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot. He's being buried. He shouldn't. So what? Does he deserve better? Does he deserve worse? I don't know where people want to fall on this. I simply think, and from my perspective, Triple H probably said, hey, he is probably moving too fast. Let's pump the brakes. Let's take some time. Let's build him at a very methodical rate of what we see and what we want. Here's the thing. I personally feel, this is totally checked out, if he wasn't going to beat Roman or whomever the champion was at any point, that freaking briefcase was an albatross around his neck. Just
and what's going to happen if he carried it all the way to Money in the Bank again?
Like, he's going to have to...
Do you have to...
Listen, my argument, though, is if he's not going to be successful in the cash-in, just get it away from him.
So, let's think about this. This is Tuesday after Raw. We're recording for our Wednesday show, and we're talking about Austin Theory because the internet's talking about Austin Theory, because the dirt sheets are talking about Austin Theory. If he's getting buried in such a manner that people are still talking about him, they're still interested in him. Yeah. So I think whatever's happening to him is still good for him.
Yeah.
You remember when Triple H came out, he was an Englishman. Okay? And he developed the hard way into a character. By the way,
after the curtain call, Triple H getting buried and taking all the losses. I think he did okay afterwards.
In the end. So let's be... Buried is such a bizarre term in wrestling, and then pushed too fast. People think they're experts on everything.
Here's the funny part: everybody thinks that, and I understand, like, because wins and losses do matter. But to kind of, and almost segue kind of into the next question, Logan Paul loses. He lost at Crown Jewel. He lost the match. He didn't lose. He got over even more in that match losing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the path that we probably need to kind of start down with Theory. Just because you lost a few matches doesn't mean the career's over and they've given up on him and they're moving on for him. Just let's be patient and see what happens. Anyway. So, but
we're going to go with our friend Brent from Darlington, South Carolina, to continue the Jake Paul line and the Logan Paul line. Been to Darlington. It was extremely hot the day I went. Do you guys think that Jake Paul will join the WWE as well? Jake Paul, Logan Paul, they could be like the Usos. They call it the Pauls.
Well, funny thing is, that's part of my theory. I saw that at Crown Jewel, Jake gets involved, and when he got involved, I'm sitting there and I'm kind of leaned back and I said, I know he's busy boxing and he's, just recently fought Anderson Silva, won, blah, 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 making tons of money. I think it's possible. There's a kink as to why. It's because Logan's contract, I think, runs through 2023. So it's all going to come down to timing, in my opinion. But I think there is money in a Jake Paul, Logan Paul versus the Usos match. Because if Jake's half as athletic and he can take to wrestling like Logan has, I think that could be something that just fans would go bananas for. Trouble is,
does he have the?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Does he have the self-promotional capacity of his brother?
That's their company. The boxing thing is their stuff. So, I mean, I think what I mean is, if the timing works out, but my only concern is if Logan or if Jake's still boxing, like they have to, like the creative's going to have to work for him as well to not take losses, and think because he's not going to want to lose and still be boxing and blah blah blah. Like you'll have to get creative if they lose and that type of thing. But it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I personally think they end up both there. Just watching what we saw. Listen, he's had 3 matches, Logan Paul. Again, and I'm not disagreeing with the fact that I heard the rumor that it was said he's doing it as good as guys that have been doing it for years. Because they're not wrong. Could he be better? 100%. But if you told me I could sign that guy, you're damn right I would.
But the thing people are missing out on, he's a value-added prospect. It's not just you get a guy that wrestles, a good wrestler. You get a guy that got how many millions of views and reacts all over the internet with that video he took?
We had like 3.5 million views on Twitter.
Okay.
Of that dive off of the top. There's a great, I was listening to 83 Weeks this week. It dropped yesterday on Monday, Myron. And it was about Master P and the No Limit Soldiers, coming to WCW. Mm-hmm. And it was like, listen, he admits it failed. He admits that it was his fault as to why it failed creatively. But he's like, the idea of why you do it is a solid foundation. He's like, I was trying to, because somebody, I'm going to go on a tangent on this, and it's very similar because it's very relative to today's world. Like, why would they spend all this money on Logan Paul when they could sign insert top AEW guy, blah blah blah, into WWE? Eric Bischoff pointed out how, like, Meltzer pointed out in the dirt sheet that basically they signed Swole, who was one of Master P's bodyguards, to a contract that was for more money than they were going to pay Chris Jericho. And how that was, they let Chris Jericho go because they weren't going to pay him that much money. And as Bischoff pointed out, he goes, because what people don't want to understand is he was trying to grab a segment of the audience that he didn't have already. He's like, the fans of Chris Jericho and the people that love Chris Jericho were already watching. So for me to say, like, I'll let Chris Jericho go but Swole was a part of the Master P package, and then the brand, like Master P, would eventually go away, but the No Limit Soldiers would stay, and he could try to bring in a younger, and he admitted it. It's like, hey, we're trying to attract a younger and an African-American community more into the product. It was something that we didn't have as big a base on, and we hoped that's so it wasn't like Swole's as good a wrestler as Chris Jericho. It was, we're hoping in the long run it pays off. That's the Logan Paul, Jake Paul scenario right now.
Exactly.
Is that they are going to grab an audience that's not watching WWE right now and just drags them in. Anyway, that was sidebar.
Secure the brand long term. Bring in more wrestling fans. If you have to go to Saudi Arabia to get some, if you have to put in the Pauls to get some, whatever it takes, it's an investment. It's a long-term investment.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's,
Loves
there's
it.
that.
But what's what you think, Nick, about where's the Brotherhood thing going to go with the Usos? You think this is when the Usos finally lose the belts later on, or
you could like listen if they were both, because by the way, I don't think Logan Paul's knees hurt near as bad as it's being reported. I think he's got a movie to shoot or something like that. That's what I'd heard, but I could be totally wrong. What do I know? I just work here. But anyway, I digress. But it would be, think about that. It would be a hell of a match if it was. Think about if you want the blow up. I'm about to book this all the way to WrestleMania. Jago gets his wrist fixed. Sammy fills in. You get to Mania, and it's supposed to be at that point. You're supposed to have the Paul brothers versus the Usos at WrestleMania. But Jay's back now. And their the infighting is that Sammy's like, no, I can do this. And Jay's like, it's my spot. Get out. It's my spot. I'm going to defend the title. So the feud's there. And if you want to put the straps onto the Paul brothers and get them off the Usos, it's because they implode. The Usos implode, and there's something that happens, and that's where Sammy gets booted out. On a big grand stage. That's when he gets booted out, and then he needs Kevin Owens as a partner, and you pick up a new story after Mania.
So you drop all of your big draws in this thing and blow it up and get everybody in the world to watch.
Yeah. Listen, think about this. In my brain, I'm thinking you're going to have The Rock versus Roman. You're going to have the Paul brothers versus the Usos. That's 2 matches at your Mania thing.
Where is Mania this year?
Hollywood.
Bingo.
I mean, L.A., whatever. It's whatever damn town that building's actually in. But they're calling it Hollywood for a reason. So, yeah. But anyway, so let's keep it rolling, brother.
This is a topic near to us. Corey from Benson, North Carolina, wants to know, what are your thoughts on Nick Aldis apparently giving his notice to NWA?
Ooh. I'll let you start. I know you're the
guy that was there. I mean, he's been there from the start. He was he had the belt. No, I'll tell you what. The other guy had it. Aldis won it. But Aldis carrying that belt. To me, Aldis is like if you want to put your belt on somebody and make it look distinguished, him in those suits, him with that athletic build, the perfect hair, the beautiful wife, that's the guy you really want the belt on. It makes your promotion look better.
Yeah.
And he's very classy. But apparently what I'm hearing, I don't know if you've heard these rumors, he was not happy with the way Billy Corgan apparently disrespected his wife. Because she put on their women's show. She was in charge of it. You don't disrespect no Mickie James.
I mean,
not around Nick Aldis.
I can't imagine that if I would be mad about that. I can't imagine her husband, how mad he would be about it.
Yeah. I have read things, and it's just dirt sheet stuff. Corgan has been we're not talking about like.
I mean, I don't know that he sent her stuff in a trash bag or anything, but I mean.
No. There's been worse times for her. I mean, Mickie James doesn't get the respect. She's, to me, one of the top all-time women's wrestlers.
And by the way, this is not her athletic gifts. I have always thought from day one, she is always one of the most attractive women in wrestling. And I mean that as a compliment, not like just a dirty old man. I mean, literally,
Billy Corgan.
I always thought she was a pretty
Nikki Corgan.
Huh?
Nothing. No, she's a beautiful woman, extremely talented. And the thing is, she does the emotion stuff well. The crazy Mickie James characters, all the other stuff she's done over the years, she's really sold it well.
Yeah.
She's royalty, in my opinion. But Nick Aldis leaving is going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to take a little bit of legitimacy away from them. Now, Nick Aldis could go anywhere in the world right now.
I agree.
Okay. He could wrestle for anybody.
Obviously, listen, I in the notes, I made a pun. I think he's going to make an impact no matter where he goes.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense if his wife is there, that he might show up there for a cup of coffee, right? That would make sense. But here's the thing. There's a piece of me that wonders Triple H grew up in that school of like the Ric Flair with the suits and the champion and looking like. I think that's probably part of what he loves about Cody.
Yes,
I could see me personally. I don't know that they have any kind of history or whatever, but I could 100% see him appreciating Nick Aldis the way he looks and presents that character. That's just my take. So.
Imagine Cody and Nick as a tag team. Remember what was the Jesus Christ? The Ascension. Wasn't that the name of the tag team? No, it wasn't. It was the one with Flair, Batista, Orton, and Triple H.
Oh, you're talking about the Evolution.
Evolution, yes. They all dress like that. I can see it happening.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of
like, I think he appreciates it and he would take to that, and so that's just that's just me. But I could see him as an NWA guy or a WWE guy. I could see him AEW. I could see him
New
anywhere.
Japan.
So
yeah,
But anyway.
And now I want you to tell me about what happened Friday night while I was at work. You went out to Southern Honor.
I did go to Southern Honor, and listen. I want to again jump around. Ironically, I would tell people if you missed this show, and I hate saying it to you, that ironically, if you didn't go to this show, you might have missed one of the best shows they've done all year. Literally, there were sources in the building who said this show was better than the anniversary show.
Oh wow!
Lots of people shared that opinion. And on top, listen, you got to see in person the new IWTV World Heavyweight Champion, Cruel, carrying both straps as he defended the Southern Honor title against Tank. Here's the crazy part. I don't know how I got into that building and at that show and had no idea that was a death match until they announced it over the thing. I'm like, I don't know how I missed that, but yeah. Oh. When those two started going at it, dude, you got to check out IWTV to see this match when it's released.
I will, definitely will.
So yeah, Cruel is absolute money. Look, I stand behind my statement that he should be the face of IWTV for a long, long time, easily over a year. I don't see I think there's just tons of tickets, merch, all kinds of stuff to be sold. That's just mine. If you're an indie promotion and you have anything to do with IWTV and you can get that title booked on your show, you need to book him, pay him, and get him on the freaking poster. It's that simple. I have said it time and time again. I absolutely love the Monster Cruel, persona.
He is hitting it on all cylinders right now. I think he might even make it a year on the Indies left.
That's my concern about him being the face of the IWTV is if he doesn't get picked up somewhere else along the way. That would be the only reason I would say he would not be the face of that.
And he's a great guy. He's a super cool guy. I don't see him not succeeding he would be a great match in a locker room. He would be able to work with anybody. There's a period in a
time, Myron, where I think if you've watched long enough, you saw the light bulb go off. And then all of a sudden, and now I don't think there's, that's just my take, but what do I know? I will tell you this, by the way, coming from a guy who doesn't typically like Iron Man matches, I've always been critical of them. I've turned around now and I've seen 3 in the last year that I absolutely love. Kyle and Chip, Kyle Matthews, Chip Day, sorry, be more specific, 100% absolutely delivered on their Iron Man match. It was I loved about it, by the way, I loved the falls. It wasn't one of those they wrestled for 25 minutes without a single fall. It was 3 falls, 4 falls, 4 falls. They were racking them up kind of thing as they were going along.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh.
And it's funny. There wasn't, best way I can put it, there was not a loser in the sense of the word in that match. Both guys 100% delivered. Kyle Matthews picked up the victory and will face Cruel at the next Southern Honor show for the title. So good luck with that. After what I just said, right? I mean, but if anybody can go in there and wrestle with the monster, it's Kyle, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know how to say this. It's because everybody, when I said it to somebody, they were like, "Oh, it's a bad." I'm like, it's not a bad thing. When Chip Day's on his game, he's as good as anybody. He's
I agree,
one of the
100%.
best.
Yeah.
So
striker, he's a hell of a striker.
He's just
looks like it hurts.
He's awesome. And also, by the way, when he has the when the dance partners can run with him, it's always helpful.
Yeah.
The Joe Black Murder One promo segment with in the Petty Party. What I think will be unique about this feud is anything you will say, they are going to use lots of reality and real things to play on to actually get make this even as such a hot feud. You missed the Gary Lamb passionate promo to open the show, to light a fire back under Gunnar Miller, and we got an angry, aggressive Gunnar Miller throughout the show. And all I can say is welcome back. We missed that guy.
God, he's scary when he's on that. He's on that.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Two notes I actually wanted to point out before we go out on the Southern Honor stuff. One, I don't know how or why, and I know what's going to be said by what I'm about to say. There's going to be somebody's smart-ass retorts about it. But how Happy Madness doesn't get more love when it comes to being one of the better tag teams in the state, I don't quite get.
Can work face and heel.
They do. They do. Good guys one place, bad guys other place, which, by the way, I'm also talking about how, I'm not a huge fan of that principle, but it being done in a good way, by the way.
Yeah.
They're the champions in two places right now, currently. So I don't know. And like I said, it's, that's just kind of baffles me.
Two amazing wrestling minds. Okay. Two guys that understand the wrestling business at a higher plane. And it's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Now, and by the way, now that I have lost to Sauronaro this last week in fantasy football, we can be friends again. I told him I didn't like him last week. And then last but not least, it's funny. We said something on the show a couple weeks ago, and then somebody in the wrestling business came over, Gary Lamb, and was like, Carly Bravo's a freaking star. And I'm like, yeah, if you listen to the show, you would know I said that 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah, he is. Win, lose or draw, love him or hate him, Carly Bravo always is just memorable. He's got it, and he's a star no matter where he is and what his role is. And I think that's something that's Carly Bravo's going to be signed somewhere. I legitimately believe it. I honestly do believe he will be somewhere.
I agree.
I agree. And by the way, I will be thrilled to death when we see it. So, but anywho, but you know what else?
Have they posted? What's that?
No, go ahead.
Have they posted a date for this next one show?
I think it's the 9th, I believe. Whatever that. I think so.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna get to go, and I'm gonna get to go to Southern Fried because my vacation is still gonna be going when Southern Fried hits. Oh man.
Well, they're doing.
You talk about Nick. You talk about a pick me up.
They're doing Thanksgiving night.
No, they're also doing December 3rd.
I think so. Yeah, sounds about right. But I know they're doing their tournament on Thanksgiving night, so.
And I have to miss that.
Yeah. But you know how they do put all their shows, Myron. They put them all on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. So, they do a great job, too.
So while you're on there, you're going to our channel on youtube.com, and you're searching for the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast or Tapped Out Podcast Network, subscribing and liking and turning on your notifications and becoming a member and all that good stuff. You can check out Southern Fried as well. Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. Go to their page and sign up. So do 2 for 1, man. And hell, while you're at it, jump on over. If you're an audio podcast listener, even if you're on YouTube, and you watch us regularly on YouTube, go to one of the podcast platforms, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever and whenever, whatever you like to do on your audio podcast platforms. Same thing, man. Just subscribe, man. Do all that 5-star rating review if you're so inclined, all that good stuff. Get the show everywhere.
Listen to it in your car on the way to wrestling. Listen to it in your car on the way home from work when you need to cool off and relax.
Listen, I understand. There are lots of times you just want to watch the video, and I understand.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
we are. I mean,
a couple of sharp-dressed men.
Exactly. You got your Happy Madness shirt on. I got my Outer Banks shirt on. Mm. We'll see. Anywho.
Where did we get all these? I get this shirt. Where did I get this shirt? ProWrestlingTees.com.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, while you're buying wrestler shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, you can find our shirts there too. Pick up a few. So anyway, so show notes. Next week's show will not be a regular show. It's going to be a special. We're going to have to figure out, by the way, how we're going to record that, of all things, because next Tuesday, I'm leaving to go on vacation. So it'll be prior to record day, I believe. But anyway.
Okay, I mean, I'm off this whole weekend.
So we'll figure something out. We can make anything. A best of, send suggestions. Best, like a top 10 list show, something like that, or hell, whatever. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Send some suggestions. What would you like to see? Because there's nothing more in life that we're trying to do more than pleasing you. Because we're people pleasers, Myron.
Yes.
So that's what I've been told and accused of, whatever that means. Good, bad, or indifferent. Anything else, man, before we get out of here? Or... Do what?
Nothing. Yeah, no, I got nothing. Look at those little kids running around at wrestling, having fun. Watch wrestling through their eyes.
Yeah.
Not the dirt sheet eyes. Dave Meltzer, don't watch it like Meltzer. Watch it like those little kids running around in the front row.
Yep.
But I've got nothing else.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.